the creating force of the universe, to the omnipotent being that which is greater than ourselves, who has many names, Olodumare, Ungolo Kunkun Kwame Blaforest, Jah, Amen Ra, Ashe.
It's the 1st of August, Windrush Square, Brixton, and thousands assembled for the African Emancipation Day Reparation March to the Houses of Parliament with a petition to demand reparatory justice, calling for the state to acknowledge the historic and ongoing impact of colonisation and slavery. Members of the organising committee stressed the importance of the march.
Some people say marching is a waste of time. Marching gives you good exercise. And somehow we need it. When a march go to work every day, when a march at the slavery, when a march bringing the children to school. Marching is what make people know that we still exist in a Britain as African people. Marching is what's going to bring unification to I, and I. Umoja is a necessity. We cannot make the British government forget what them do. We gonna remind them every year, and these children are gonna take up the banner until reparation is achieved.
There was no slave trade. There was genocide and terrorism. Simple. Because a trade implies you get something in return. We have lost our humanity, which is why we grow to march, so that we can recognize the humanity in ourselves. The march has aims, brothers and sisters. The petition has aims. We're not just doing this for fun or without thought. This is a strategy. This is a plan. And you need to get ready to become experts and start working on that commission of inquiry for truth and reparatory justice. Check the stopthemangamizi.com website.
Africans from all over Europe and the Americas attended the march with a powerful libation ceremony, calling also for the ancestors' presence.
Bring us a part to pray to the ancestors.
Ashe.
Bring us the blessings of peace.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Bring us the blessings of good fortune.
Ashe.
Bring us the blessings of calmness.
Ashe.
Bring us the blessings of stability.
Ashe. Low. Tosaria set erune this unsa. Gebmut unsa. Tefnut shu unsa. Basa anebis unsa. Obatala shango unsa. Etaru unsa. To the ancestors who fought the enemies of African people for the last 6,000 years, and to the ancestors who fought and died in the many manngamizi, whose bones lay beneath the many seas, the many oceans, the many rivers, the many lakes, the many swamps, the many deserts of this world, to those ancestors, and to our ancestors who wrote our stories down on stones, papyrus, scrolls, books, put them on DVDs, CD, so that we would know who we are, where we come from, where we are, how we ever reached here, where we have failed, what we need, and where we need to go, to those ancestors, and to our ancestors that when they were taken in captivity, escaped and set up their own colonies, to those who could not escape, to those who died trying to escape, to those who chose not to escape so that others could escape, and to those that when they escaped came back to free others, to those ancestors, and and to our direct ancestors whose names we do not know, to those ancestors that fought and died with our great leaders like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Sojourner Truth, Queen Nzinga, Harriet Tubman, to those ancestors who nobody don't know their name, but they made sacrifices for us, to those ancestors that came to this country here and carved out a future for we, when they were not accepted, when they were not welcome here. We will never forget you. We are the vanguards of their memory, to those ancestors. And to our direct ancestors, each and every one of us here, whose names we do not know. And to our personal ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, our aunties, our fallen soldiers, our children who they have murdered, our children who's locked up in a jail, our children who they put in mental institution, our children who they're trying to destroy in the school system. We pray that our ancestors bless and guide us and clear our path and give us the tepe neke je asenebe and protect us from those who will seem to harm us physically or spiritually. Give us spiritual, cultural, economical strength to those ancestors inside.
Before the procession set off, the powerful speech by Dutty Bookman that sparked the Haitian Revolution was orated by Brother Mario from Haiti.
Bon Dieu, qui fait la terre, qui fait soleil, qui éclaire nous en haut. Bon Dieu, qui soulève la mer, qui fait l'oreille gronder. Bon Dieu nous, qui a les oreilles pour tendre. Ou qui cache dans le nuage, qui regarde nous, côté où il est. Où est tout ça blanc, fait nous subir. Dieu blanc, il y a des crimes. Bon Dieu qui dans nous, voulait nous faire bien. Bon Dieu qui dans nous, qui si bon, qui si juste, ordonne vengeance. C'est lui qui a conduit à nous pour nous rapporter la victoire. C'est lui qui a donné nous assistance. Nous tous fait pour nous jeter, portrait Dieu blanc, qui soif de l'eau de Dieu. Écoutez-vous la liberté, qui a chanté dans le cœur.
The descendants of the stolen and colonized Africans encounter daily racial discrimination, institutional racism, police brutality, economic warfare, which leads to impoverishment, poor education, unemployment, imprisonment, and ill health, all a direct legacy of enslavement and colonization. Reparations is just not about finance. Co-chair of the Reparations March Committee, Esther Stanford Xosei, explains the 5 aspects of reparations.
The United Nations framework on a right to a remedy and reparations for violations, gross violations of human rights and also humanitarian rights, includes these 5 key areas of reparations that is important to highlight. The first being restitution, which basically means that you put a people back in the position they would have been in had these various crimes not occurred. Restitution. And that really is an attempt to undo the harmful consequences of these various crimes. Now, restitution would include measures like repatriation, which is basically our right to an African citizenship, our right to have that re-established. It would also include return of properties and lands that have been taken away, stolen, etc. We can next talk about compensation, which is probably self-explanatory, but it's not just about money. Compensation is about putting an economic value or financial price on harm, damage, crimes against humanity, loss of life, loss of opportunity, discrimination. How do we value that? Loss of trading rights, the imposition of economic partnership agreements. So what is the continued gap in terms of unfair trade? So all of this could fit into measures of compensation. Then there is rehabilitation, and that is probably self-explanatory too, in that it covers all of the measures that we need in order to rehabilitate ourselves. And we know that money alone doesn't rehabilitate a people who are experiencing intergenerational trauma, post-traumatic slave syndrome, post-colonial syndrome, intergenerational Stockholm syndrome, where satisfaction. And satisfaction include all the measures that we need as a people to feel satisfied that there has been some redress of our situation. It includes teaching the truth about the history, changing the national curriculum so that the manngamizi can be effectively taught, not as a slave trade, which is currently the case. Because the problem with just seeing what happened to us as a slave trade is that it distorts the history of genocide and intentional mass killing, and in effect resigning our people to a form of social or civil death for guarantees of non-repetition. Now, for me, this is the most important aspect, because guarantees of non-repetition are what we need to put in place to ensure that what has happened to us and is still continuing to happen by way of the manngamizi, the African Holocaust, never happens again. So those are the 5 key aspects of reparations. Let me repeat: restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. And these are recognised under international law.
Reaching Westminster Bridge, a 3-minute silence was held to remember the ancestors who experienced the horror of enslavement, colonisation, and its legacy. Arriving at Westminster, the Stop the Manngamizi petition was delivered to Downing Street by 6 representatives as campaigners gathered in Parliament Square with chants for reparatory justice vibrating through the city.
Emancipation Reparations Day March is not one day. This is everyday struggle for us. This is an everyday struggle for our ancestor. Racism doesn't sleep, and we shouldn't sleep neither. We have to wake up.
Collaboration is not reparation. That is it. Because some of us are collaborating. That is why every time we take 10 steps in, 2 steps forward, we end up with 10 steps backward. Collaboration is not reparation. That's why we got to talk to some of our family members, because we have an enemy within. That's right. If we're talking about reparation, we have to start to clean up the family.
Whether we are Christian, whether we are Muslim, whether we are Rasta, the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated says, we the black peoples of the world, in order to effect unity, liberty, freedom and solidarity, to secure justice, to maintain the integrity of black people, African people, I must continue to fight for the prosperity of our children, raise up the spirit of our ancestors.
It's imperative that you and I develop now language and skill to counter the arguments of the enemy, because they've developed some tremendously skillful, dirty argument against reparation. They will tell you, how far do we have to go back? Who else do we have to pay? And they will try to bring everybody into the equation, and we often as Africans, we fall for it. They'll bring all kinds of arguments. They'll bring homosexuality into it. They'll bring all of these equalities into it. But we must learn how to speak directly on reparations and the Black Holocaust, the manngamizi, and do not deviate from it one iota.
The manngamizi means the continuum of the African Holocaust from chattel, colonial and neo-colonial enslavement, such as debt bondage, misrepresentation in the media, miseducation in our schools, resource exploitation, using our homelands as a medical experimental ground. So what are the consequences if we do not get reparatory justice? for the youth and for our future generations. That means they'll have no foundation. They'll be remaining in a cycle where each generation comes to have to start again. And we will live in this acceptance within oppression and staying complicit within our own enslavement.
That your ancestor, the black man still fighting in West Papua, which is north of Australia. We are colonized by Indonesia. Indonesia killed people of West Papua. 500,000 men and women has been killed until today. 500,000 men. Because we are black. Because we are black. That's why continue killing, imprisonment, discrimination, racism, torture. MAANGAMIZI still continue to Nigiri until today while I'm speaking.
Prepare your families, prepare your children for our case. We have to be debating it, not just with people who side with us, but we have to be able to outdo all the arguments. And we all have to be our own advocates. That is what we are promoting. So it's not about a few of us up here. It is about the many of us. And this is a process that is not being done anywhere else in the world on African reparations. So we are pace setters. And some of us will continue to be pace setters because we know we are doing the right thing. And we're not begging no favour from nobody. We're not begging no friends, whether it's from CARICOM governments or African governments. As long as our people are in bondage, we must represent ourselves and also hold our governments to account too. Because many of them are complicit in the manngamizi. All the lands that are being stolen from our people is being done with the connivance of governments, depriving our people of their life and their liberty. That's why we say, stop the manngamizi. And we must remember, not only is this not the whole movement, we in the UK are not the whole movement. We in London are not the whole movement. The movement is all of our brothers and sisters on the four corners of planet Earth.
And we need to make a commitment that we will continue. We will fight for as long as it takes until we receive justice. It may not come in our lifetime, but we will set the stage and we will continue to fight and we will never surrender. We must receive justice. Our ancestors demand it. Those that gave blood for where we are demand it. And we will never give up.
When we organize to liberate and unify ourselves, we will have empowered ourselves to take reparations.
As the reparation campaign gains momentum, the organisers emphasise the march is not the movement, but only one aspect in the campaign, and urges all Africans to get involved in this generational battle for true emancipation and liberation from all forms of oppression against the African black people.